Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
It's nice to meet you here. We have a good weather, and I hope wherever you are, you have also good weather over there. No worries, no need to panic yet. We don't. This is like a pre-warm up, let's say it that way. We have still 2 minutes time before we start, so it's now just good time to grab some water, coffee, maybe. If you are morning lunch person, morning breakfast person, then maybe even the breakfast beside
Grab some
our
eggs and bacon.
yeah. Let's make some English breakfast. So
All right.
so we will wait people to gather here. Unfortunately, we don't have background music in the same time, but I can challenge Jaak maybe sing
To
some
sing.
song.
No, I won't do that.
But,
Maybe you show an example and then we will see.
So, but you can use that time to use our chat, for example, and just say hi, so we know that you are here, and the chat is also working. So, like it's like within the airplane, the same thing that you have the checklist. Like, is the chat working? Do you see us? Do you hear us?
Okay, we have time is 12 p.m.
Yeah.
in the
So
live session.
okay. So we will start our webinar now. So hello, everybody. Thank you for joining with the Eziil webinar. Today, we are showing you the ways how to maximize profitability through digitalization and the practical use cases, what we have seen, how it works. And I'm Maido, and with me is Jaak. And this is how we roll today. So let's look, because this is our first this type of webinar. So very welcome to you to engage in our process and put ideas and questions. So we are very welcome you to do that.
Okay.
So what we will look today in our webinar is first we have a small introduction, so you can get to know us a little bit more, that who we are, where we are coming from, and why we are, why we can, and what we can share for you regarding this subject. Then we have an overview what is the return of investment from digitalization point of view. I have because this subject can be viewed in very different angles, and I will give you one very specific angle how to look at digitalization, production digitalization. And then we have actually two real use cases. So we will show, based on Eziil, how you can get the project overview and time control. This is the first use case. And the second use case is we are showing you how to get detailed information into procurement and the production. And we have this, the setup of this presentation is built up in that way that we first show you in Eziil how we are doing this process, and then we will share our customer experience, what we have seen in the factories or our customer have seen as practical, practical benefits after implementing that process. So and the additional idea for you in this webinar actually is to little bit expand your way how to look the process management and the project management. And we use Eziil as just one example how to streamline this information, but you can do this in any system or any software or any way. Actually, the manual way is also okay if it works for you. It depends on your company size. So in the same time, when we are running this process, we have also a Q&A possibility. For that, we have in our system, we have the questions tab in the right side. There is a questions. Please write your question in that segment. So then we can show it up in the screen and everybody can see it, and also upvote it if this feels very important question. If it fits in our schedule on the presentation, we will answer the questions. We will integrate the question answering inside our presentation. If it doesn't go with the flow, then we will have in the end small section time for that to answer all your questions. So we are planning to finish at 45, and the Q&A is after that. And that's it. Did I forget something, Jaak?
No, I don't think it was perfect.
Okay, so let's go into our first step, is introduction. Who are we? I'm Maido Janke. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Eziil, and Eziil is focusing to helping manufacturers to get the real-time overview and streamline the process, what's happening in the production side. Me, myself, I have been in this segment, working in this industry already 23 years. Started as a consultant in the production areas, and slowly growing into actually being myself also manufacturing owner. And I felt firsthand what does it mean actually if you have a lot of processes, lot of departments and units what need to produce something, and you actually don't know what's going on, and you have to have a constant meetings. And basically I call that mode as making decision and praying that maybe something goes right. so this was my like a very painful experience, how I understood that something is needed to streamline this information and see overview. And there comes my passion. I really want to help other producers to achieve that with Eziil. With me is Jaak.
Jaak is my name. I've studied mechanical engineering, so my background is in the steel industry. I've started as a production engineer, so in that position, I worked in different positions like project manager, production managers, a little bit in sales. Today in Eziil, I am consultant, business manager of this project Eziil. And yeah, I've been in different positions, but all the time included in this metal fabrication side of the in the business. So yeah, not specific like IT background, but rather like actual production background.
So who is it for today's webinar? This webinar concentrates a very specific niche of producers. They are called made to order. Or what does it mean? It means that every project you produce is unique. And our approach for that is this, that even if the product is every time unique, the process can be repeatable. And the company size from 10 people to 100 people. Why in that segment we are actually speaking is because we have the most knowledge in that segment, and the practical use cases is actually coming also from that segment, what we are showing you today. And of course, in ROI calculation, you will understand a little bit more better why we choose especially that segment. But this will come a little bit later. Objective for us today is to give you a sneak peek how to make digitalization ROI calculations yourself in your own production, and what type of practical use cases actually to expect, or what type of things to actually look if you are looking these things, so you can do your own practical ROI calculations.
Mm-hmm. But let's step into the action, and let's start with the ROI.
So let's start with ROI. I will first lay you out a very simple like a way how I look the ROI calculation and how I look the digitalization potential return of investment. And for that, let's take, for example, that you have a task in every day that you do. It takes you 5 minutes to do it. Would you be ready to invest 2.5 hours to actually automate that task. And for that, Jaak started a Q&A, and so please answer to this Q&A, so then we can look what is your opinion regarding that. So, but basically, time is money. Everybody in the production have probably felt that on own skin.
So yeah, we have also received Paul's results already. Would you like to stay on them?
No, show me the results.
So you need to check it yourself, but 60% of the replies have been yes, I would invest, and 40% is no, I wouldn't invest that time for a 5-minute task.
Okay, really good. But now let's jump into that why I asked that questions at all. So for me, the digitalization means actually movement of information. So if you take your production floor, you move goods or like a half-ready products there, but at the same time, the information have to move, that people know what needs to be done, that this can be completed. So why is this important, or why we are even speaking about that is in my next slide, which is we need to move informations between people. And probably if you are some of these people who started the company, maybe only yourself alone or 2 people at first, then imagine, I remember myself as an entrepreneur these days when we had very small company, it was so easy to move information. Everybody knew what's need to be done, and like things was flowing and really easy. And the reason for that is actually complexity rule. And the problem arises in scaling up. What does it mean? For example, if you have the company where you have only 2 people, then you have only 2 communication lines. You have to share information between these 2 people. It's 2 communication lines. If you add 1 person into the mix, you have already 6 communication lines, even if it's only 1 person. And when you add 1 person more, you have 4 people, and you have now 24 communication lines. And this is probably a point where the first Eziil is born. So you need to somehow manage this information, streamline it, put it some order, that people know what others are doing when they are doing their own work that needs to be done. So this problem actually, in the scaling up, this problem only scales. More people you add, more operations you add, more complicated products you are adding, more this comes into challenge for you how to handle the complexity rule. And this is what digitalization actually helping you to do it. So let's go into now into details this question, this 5 minutes question. And what this means, this 5 minutes question, is this, that everybody who answered yes to that question, that they will invest this 2.5 hours to automate that 5 minutes, you are good investors. Actually, so this means that if you take this 5 minutes per day, it's in a week 25 minutes. In a month, it's a 1 hour and 40 minutes. And in a year, it's a 21 hours and 40 minutes. So this means that your investment, 2.5 hours, is actually 8.6 times return. Let it sink a little bit. Find me the money investment opportunity where you can see such investment rates. It's quite complicated actually invest money in that rate. So if somebody comes and asks you like, will you invest £1,000 into 1 year and get 8,600 back? Probably you will take it. So this is how actually digitalization works, that you find specific areas where people spend repeatedly time and streamline it, automate it, and put it into flow. And this is how we are showing you how to do that today. Jaak, we cannot hear you.
Sorry. So let's get more practical. Case 1. So how we can get a project overview and time control. This is a practical example. I'm going to show you how we have solved it in Eziil and what is the main key points you need to take into consideration. So these are what projects do we have at all, what we are working with, and how is our production capacity? Is it over the limits, under the limits? Understanding that. How the projects are moving. Do we see them like where they are, or do we need to make calls or run around in the factory? And the profitability, how much time we planned and how much time we actually spent. So how to get to know that. Let's look.
And for example, just to highlight here a little bit, this example of 5 minutes. Now hold this return of investment in your head and think about this, that if Jaak is showing how this process is moved, how much time you or your team members are spending actually synchronizing that information between them. This is your return on investment. This is not one silver bullet that we say that if you are doing this, that everybody is like that. So it's every company is arranged on the own way and their own size and the people, complexity of the products, etc. But this is something you hold in mind if you look what Jaak is showing you.
Yep. So let's look to a quick overview. So this is, now we're talking about the Eziil. We have our project environments. We have the clients listed here, all their projects. The projects can be divided into multiple phases, and they have different statuses, different due dates, different persons connected with that job. And what I'm doing now is just a simple job that we are creating a new, we have some hotel extension project, and we are adding a new phase for that project. So some extra structures came into play, and we are adding a new phase for that. It's in engineering. Let's say Tim needs to work on it, and they gave us a deadline that's in the beginning of August. We have mail came today, so we have 23rd. They wanted to deliver to the place, etc. So we are adding a new stage to our project.
And now, just one stop. Imagine this is now the way how to move information to all your team members. What Jaak did, he invested like, let's say 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, but everybody can now know it. So there is like no production manager going, oh, do we have some projects? Like, can you send me email, forward that? Like, this is like the things to notice here.
What we do next is actually we create a rough plan for this project. It's just entered this project, and we have a different departments working on it, and we have created our formula how to create like fabrication job usually. So we have, coming from the due date, we have some calculations behind it, how we would like to give us the first rough plan, that what are usually the times for this kind of project. So we have like 24 hours for design. These times come from the estimation. So for preparation work, we have 40 hours. For welding work, we have 120 hours. Surface treatment, let's say 40. And site installation, let's say 16 hours. I just made them up, but basically this is the information usually comes from your estimation. This information is staying in one place, and everybody has access to it. And when we look at the same information in more graphical way, we call this master view. So here are all our live projects that are on hand at the moment, and we can see like different ways or how all the projects and their departments are included in our schedule, in our program, how we put up this welding, surface treatment, how they look on the line. And also we have the resources here. So we have our available resources and we have the resources that is needed for that project. So we see that we have different departments and how we are like, are we under or over capacity? Can we move the jobs around to like balance up the jobs so we can move those things around and recalculate the resources? Okay, we're still like into mix, so we need to plan this up, but this is the basis where we can start the communication for our planning. We know where we might have the problems, so we can work on those.
And this is actually like from the return on investment point of view, you are investing before it's actually a problem, because usually if you don't make a planning, you will later be in the problems when the bottleneck arises and the deadline is overdue. Then this is too late already. So our point is like a predict, then you know what needs to be done.
Yep. And the next step for this one is we are going into like a really simple mode. So we have the job, we know maybe what we need to do. We don't have a specific information inputted into the Eziil, but the next step is that we actually want to capture the times from the workshop. So I am now worker actually. They have gave me the drawings and I will just track the time I'm spending on that project. So I will take this hotel extension, I will start the job, and the time is starting, and it will measure how much time I have spent on that project. And this is like for a worker's view, mobile view, or a workstation in the workshop. So an easy way how to just track time and an operation what he's doing. And this information was already inputted or taken from the first initial input. So we have this information, and now when we come back to master view, we actually see that we have like different things here. We have different colors. So we have dark and light colors. So this information is shown for us here, like what is our progress. I will put it back into the month view. This is a bit small screen. But here we see like how we are progressing with our jobs, how far we are. Okay, the design and preparation work is done, welding is ongoing, there are still something need to be done. Or we have something is more in the way, but we have something is not balancing up. We are going on with the surface treatment, but we have some problems with welding, for example. And then we come into the profitability. So
before you go into that profitability, now is a good point to make a small step and digest a little bit, recap on your own production and think how you can get this information, how much time you have to spend for that, and how long it takes. So this gives you a little sneak peek that what can be your production profitability by implementing this process. So, but let's go into profitability now.
Exactly. So for me, it's already so simple. I'm working and living in that environment, but of course, it's actually quite a big step for some of the companies, and we have seen a great return of investment already from that step. So, and what we get back is the feedback from the production as well. So we have planned 80 hours, but actually we have already 95 hours spent for that project. So we are over. The profitability probably won't be so good. And this is just like a first simple step that we're only taking into consideration. Basically project management and time capturing from the workshop, nothing else, and a really simple step to work with.
And I see that most of the companies, they learn with that to actually play very well together, that everybody play in his own responsibility providing feedback, and everybody can see in the same time what's going on. And this is like a very, very big effect or change in one company, actually.
Yeah, and what are the real things what we have seen from that cases?
For example, one of Estonian biggest energy company, Enefit Solution, they implemented exactly that system in the department, the production department they have. And what they seen was this, that it was really easy to implement, and they had earlier 12 different Excels that did similar processes. But with the Excels, you have a very they are all individual, so they are all invented by someone. Someone have to build it, someone have to implement it, someone have to synchronize it, someone have to maintain it, and this is actually cost for you. And if you think about this 5 minutes and you think about this one Excel, you probably have to do more work than 5 minutes per day to keep them up to date and synchronized. Our philosophy works in another way, that we give every person a tool that they can follow doing the job that needs to be done, and at the same time collect this information that the overview always exists. And this is exactly this example what we got from Enefit Solution.
Yep. Bit similar thing is with fly structures. We made a similar implementation for them as well. And what was the main benefit? Because we made a clear procedure how we're working it, who's responsible for what, who's responsible for engineering dates, who's responsible for fabrication dates, and everybody is going to be on the same page. We don't have to like create meetings to understand where we are or what's going on, but everybody knows what's going on, and we see the proper problems or challenges, and we can discuss on them how to overcome those challenges. And that makes this like, you don't need to wait another week for this weekly production meeting or something. Everybody has the information always in the hand, and they know who's responsible for what things. And this is what we have seen also, like it's just creating a much more clear communication. And because we are really thinking of project-based producers, this is specially designed for them, and we already know like the main procedures.
And this is, I think, a good what you just mentioned, that if you are listening to us and thinking that is it for me or not, the next time you go into your production meeting, then be very aware and listen what's going on. How much time is spent to get understanding where we are, and do we have a problem or we don't have a challenge with this thing or this project, and how much time is spent actually working with the challenges. So this is the main difference. If you start the meeting from that point where you already know what is the situation, then you can only work in this meeting with the clever people to think out the ways how to solve that challenge. Do we take some subconstruction, or we can move some deliveries, or we pay this penalty? It's much cheaper for us to actually to push this higher value, or is there some type of specific deals behind that we have to push that out, then we can get the next deal, etc. So you can work with that, not by just searching and patrolling is there some type of problem.
Yep. Yeah, I'm already thinking of so many different like memories from my
you got the flashback
career. Absolutely. Like what's going on, like on the last minute I was a young project manager, and I realized that okay, now we are like in a really bad situation. I threw up a program in Excel, of course, how it's going to work, this plan, and we saw like, okay, we have no possibility that we can deliver everything on time. We went to the client, okay, we are ready to pay you the penalties. We're not able to do that. it's too late already, everything is already too bad. But it took so much time to understand that, and we were already in a really bad situation. Of course,
And now think about this 5 minutes. Like this, you spent more than 5 minutes to solve that problem back in the days when it was in
absolutely.
production. You spend the customer time, you spend the sales guys time, you spend the production time. Like all the time was spent actually when you actually could have knew this beforehand, before confirming the delivery times. You could already plan things different way. The knowledge is power, so use that.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's already move to the next thing. So we have, I think, two very strong use cases already for this really simple first step, like action. But
so this is a bit like a sequel. So now we are like switching. Like it's like it's not anymore like a episode 2. It's a season 2. So now we are showing you another way how you can actually streamline your information and what type of information to streamline. And here we will focus on really like if you're feeling in the production, you're seeing in the production that the materials are late, and because of that production cannot produce, or there is some type of wrong information in the production, or the work task is not clearly understandable, so the work stops, people come into office and start to ask things, etc., and it spends time, then this case is actually for you to consider as a practical thing to do.
Yes. So what I'm going to show you basically is just the first step in here, how to get the data in quickly, because usually in the ERP systems, it's not an easy way to get in a project-based bill of materials. So we are talking today about project-based manufacturing and this kind of information where every job is different and you need to create a recipe every time, a new one. So this is something else than you have like a standard production and mass production. You're just repeating the processes over and over. So I'm going to show you the engineering data, how to quickly input that, how to enrich this information. And this is the input for the next steps we're not going to cover today, but this is the basis for the further steps like purchase planning, like detailed planning in the workshop planning, and work orders, electronical, physical, whatsoever. So we are looking, okay, let's close this one. We're still in here. So engineering and this extra part, what we're seeing. We have a construction part. We have a IFC model, today's standard from Tekla or whoever, like this CAD software. We can import this kind of models into Eziil. So what I'm importing today is like, this is a kind of a project we are working on, like a lot of different assemblies, beams, all of them, beams and columns. So a lot of different data that is covered in a single job. And we can then import this information into Eziil in a structured way. What we have imported is all the assemblies, the details. We have the materials, the quantities, the sizes, and what else I'm going to do is also the drawings. What sort of drawings is needed here? So we have a PDF drawing package. I will import some of them, not everybody, because it's a quite huge job. So we have drawings here. They can be imported. But what we already know is we actually have already available material summary, because most of the materials is listed here, and we know what we need to buy, what materials is needed for that project, and we can really quickly get a full summary. Yeah, a lot of different profile materials and the quantity throughout the project. So really quickly and simply, we can get this information into our hand and you can like put up many jobs together and get this overview of the materials you need.
Yeah, and the really big time actually waster is actually looking from different project, getting this information all together and actually like merging it together or aggregating, let's say it that way.
Exactly. So we have imported some of the drawings, and we are enriching this information. We're adding new information into that. So, for example, a couple of examples, what we're going to do is just we're adding all the drawings into the, or connecting the drawings to the jobs. So we have the drawings are here. I will open it up. It popped onto my other screen. I will put it somewhere a little bit lower here. So we have the drawing and we have the bill of materials. And when we work on the bill of material, the drawings are always in hand, and I know what needs to be done. So for example, I know all the flat parts I will need to plasma cut. Probably they should be changed over to sheet metal as well. And I will add an operation. So plasma cutting, for example, and sorry. And for example, we can also say that I know our plasma cutting machine doesn't give good enough quality, or we don't have actually our own plasma cutting machine. So we will buy it in as a service from a subcontractor. And just like that, I added a subcontractor to that. So I know that this operation is not for us doing, but this is imported. This is bought from a subcontractor, and it will actually remove the material need from our purchase as well. For the other assemblies, for example, I will add welding operations. We have a welding, we have a painting. We will give different information. So maybe they are primed, just prime coating, and we have a packing, and we have a like a final assembly on site or something like that. So different kind of activities we need to do with each assembly, and what is the output from that. So it's really easy in Eziil to add this kind of information, enrich this original like CAD information. We can get out the material summary, different worksheet. Are they printouts or are they electronically sent to the worker, etc. So this is the information what we build up in Eziil, and it's directly connected, and everybody has access to it in the right time, in the right place.
And it actually clarifies very well, like to everybody, what is our plan, how we are planning to do this all that we promised to our customer to do it. This is like the most important thing in this arranging this information before actually delegating that. Because usually what I have seen the use cases in the productions is this, that this drawing pack is delegated down the line, and this procurement have to figure out themselves, and the production have to figure out stuff themselves. And in the process, they find that something is not possible to do, and then hell gets loose. So to avoid that problem, you have to like basically have a very good like defense system, which is like basically like working through the project with your draft persons or engineers, and like preparing it in a very clear way that everybody else can just execute things.
Yeah, the welding worksheets or whatever, how you want to design them, etc. But practical use cases, what we have seen from the clients. So we have a client, Nordic Shelter Production. They have actually quite complex bill of materials. They have a lot of different bought out items, different materials. And what they have told us that actually if you invest 1 hour creating this bill of materials in a proper way, correct way. You're checking the things out, what you're putting there. For example, the building construction or this construction work, that's quite simple one to say. But if you're going into more complex works, if you have electrical, hydraulical, and all that kind of items in there, they say that if they are investing 1 hour in their bill of materials, they save a huge time in purchase and even more in production, because the purchase doesn't need to search for the information. The production knows where is the information, what is the correct information, and everybody is again on the same page. They know what's going on, who's responsible for what, and how the changes are carried out, etc. All these kind of things. So it was like for us even a little bit unbelievable when we first time heard it, like 20 times, like you're just investing 1 hour in preparation of the job for the production, and you can save so much back from down the line.
But if you actually take a look inside what's going on in the procurement, if you have like made very, how to say, if the sales guys just send with email this project documentation forward to procurement that says that buy the material. So you imagine what type of work process you have to do to actually get and make this like procurement process. It's a really terrible, and probably you make some mistakes, and fixing these mistakes can be very costly. Probably it's not a 5 minutes thing.
Absolutely. The more items you have on bill of material, the more you can lose.
You have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And second one we got from bill of materials.
Yes, VMT factories, which is for example, they saw exactly with this procurement process. For example, they saw that they had earlier, when they had 8 million euros turnover, they had about 3 purchasers. Now they have about 23 million turnover, and they have only 1 person doing the procurement job. And now you're probably thinking that how is this possible? This is exactly the scaling up and complexity rule in action. Because if you have many projects and you try to consolidate the purchase, it's actually quite complicated to do in Excels. You have to look different bill of materials in Excels and consolidate it together. Everything, it takes a lot of time and effort getting all these drawings and all the stuff like that in there. And this process can be much faster. And sometimes customers ask that when you save us so much time, should we fire our people? Then if we actually get so much free time, then actually this is not the case. It's actually more like making smarter work and more like dealing with like predicting the possible outcomes and like making right things before they actually happen, not everyday firefighting. And you can actually scale your company by actually improving your processes. This is what digitalization helps you to do.
And I will come or stay in that slide as well, this procurement process, that 8 times the return as well. So this is one more thing that I showed you really briefly just minutes ago, that if you're sending something to subcontractor, this kind of data is absolutely different than you need to buy some materials. You need to know what you're buying, and you need to know the quantity you're buying. That's it. But for the sub processes, you have the same technical documentation, and you need to like forward this to the supplier. And how you will manage this information, will you need to like look yourself, or who's preparing this information? But in Eziil, just it was like as easy as I said, like, okay, this goes to subcontractor, this is retracted, this material is taken out from our need, and this drawing package, everything is put together for the buyer to just send out. And this I think was a really big win for VMT, how they got their like huge advantage.
Every time, like, I think a good way to think about ROI, like a practical ROI, is this: that if you make like this is the task, like for example, the procurement. This is the task that I need to give this plasma cutting operation to this company over there. What type of information I need? And now if I put like a block charts here and I see how many things I have to search or ask and wait to get it, then you understand how long that process is going and how huge this process is. Because every time you ask something from someone, you cannot make your job. Actually, you are spending your time, your 5 minutes plus multiplied with 10, and you are spending the other person's time, and you are actually jumping into his workflow, and he cannot work now, and the things start to roll and pile up in the end, and there goes your efficiency out of the window.
Yeah, I think that was a good summary already for the practical ROI for you, that you know what is the one way to calculate just the time, how much you have spent it, how you can return it, and probably it is easier. Also, what we have shown you just the two practical examples how you can build up this belief in the digitalization, how much return of the investment it actually is. If you take time and projects under the control, or you create this material and this process operation things under control. These are both like first steps into the digitalizations, but we already see a huge return on investments on those. Of course, every case is individual, and you can contact us. We can look what is your case, how we can benefit you.
So this is it for today's webinar. Thank you for joining into our webinar. I hope that we gave you a slight idea in which directions to go or what to evaluate your existing processes versus what it could be. So and this is actually was our aim to just give you some more ideas regarding that subject. So if you want to discuss that subject with us, like Jaak said, go to our homepage, book a demo. You can press it from our poll also this very quickly, so you don't have to go to our website, and they will contact with you ourselves. You can follow us in LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. So waiting to meet you all, maybe in some different setups. So until, thank you for joining in our webinar. But before we leave, we have a Q&A promise that we promised to do. Do we have some questions, Jaak?
Yes, thank you everybody who has been with us until now, who is interested about the questions. Now we have one question for the moment, and we can give an answer to that. So Eziil has asked how are resources capacities calculated, starting a process, timer starts until it is stopped and saved for similar tasks. The resource capacities, what are our resources? This is predefined, how many working hours we have, for example, in the welding workshop, like 10 welders, 8 hours per day, that means 80 hours per day or 400 hours per week, etc. All the estimates are taken from different jobs, added up together throughout and like divided into a time period, and we know like what's the total of the different project capacity, how much the work there is for that period, and is it over or under our our capacities?
Yeah, our threshold.
Yeah, threshold.
And I think it's a very it's a very important also to mention out here is this, that it's estimation where we start actually our process. It's estimation, And why we started with the estimation is this: when you have the quotation, you probably don't go through so deeply into that process because you don't know, do you win it or not? So you make 8 tenders and maybe win only 1. So you in the end have to calibrate your ability to predict how this estimation, like what is the right numbers. And with this process, you can actually feedback loop the feedback to estimation process also. Maybe you quoting too high, then you are losing deal, you are not winning so much. Maybe you are quoting too low, so this means that you are winning a lot of business from the market, but actually you cannot perform it, this business, like it's you are quoting too low. So this is a feedback also for you. And also when the problems are highlighted in master view, then you can actually learn from that, that maybe there is some type of process that you didn't know that needs to be done, but now the person who makes the quotations can actually take this into account the next time. So he's all the time continuously learning. So this is very important part of that process also. Yes,
Okay.
do we have more questions?
No, I think Eziil got his answer, and that's perfect. And we don't have any more questions. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye.